that's fine.
Okay. All right. So 8 of you are on board. This is great. Okay, that's a great number, actually. So today, we've covered a lot of ground. I don't know how many have been from the beginning with me. We've talked about emotions, and actually I've been debating whether to actually dive back into emotions, because I think distinctly that some of you have not heard my original lecture on emotions. At some point, I really want to talk about that, because it's almost like a foundational principle, just like we covered the universal laws last week. These are kind of really, really strong principles that we need to understand and really absorb in order to be able to practice this work in our daily lives. Okay? So, because everything, like I said, is like the first universal law. Everything is connected. The whole process of what we call the soul's journey, right? And there's a distinct difference. Let me take a pause there and help you to understand one very important concept, okay? Spirit, okay, is very different from the soul, okay? So this is an important thing to consider. Spirit is the energy of the quantum field, which some people call source, God, love, spirit. We are part of it and we are connected to it, but it's a very massive idea, right? The soul is an individual journey through this process. Do you guys get that? The soul is different from the spirit, because even though the soul is so imagine that you're this individual spark of the whole taking a journey through the quantum field. Okay? And each of us we start out and we can take as long as we want to get through that entire process. But at the end, it is a circular process, just like everything is coming back to the beginning, correct? Even nature shows us that, right? It starts, we go through spring, right? Then we go to summer, then we go to fall, then we go to winter. And guess what? We come right back to the beginning, correct? So the theme of the day today and what we're going to talk about is integration. And I wanted to show you how integration is part of these universal laws that we discussed, primarily the first one, right? Which was the law of oneness. We are all in the process of getting back to oneness. But guess what? We cannot get back to oneness with spirit, with the quantum field, if we personally are separated, right? If we haven't integrated with ourselves, because so within, so without, correct? What is in here creates our reality. So if our reality is showing up in ways that we do not like, and we consider, I use this a lot, but I don't like to use it, the word bad, right? If our reality is showing up in bad, or what we believe to be bad, we are resisting it. We are fighting it, and we're not integrating it. Okay? Now, this is a hard concept to grasp, but if you grasp this, you will literally take a quantum leap into making your reality what you want. Okay? Because like I've told Deborah, and she loves to say that she finally got it, what you resist persists. Remember that. What you resist persists. So if you personally inside are resisting yourself, you are not in flow. And the whole idea of being in flow is integrating the good, the bad, the dark, the light, the shadow of you and the light of you. All of it is one and the same. Okay? You are not separate from who you are, be it good or bad, as we are conditioned to believe. Okay? We are conditioned from day one as little children to think that some things are bad and some things are good. And that's where we get into trouble, because we do this to ourselves. Our parents did it to us. We do it to our children, that we create belief systems that an emotion, which I told you, remember, is energy in motion. There is no such thing as a bad emotion. Okay? That's the first belief that we have to wipe away from our minds. The first belief that we have to take away is that there's any such thing as a bad emotion. Okay? When we deny our negative emotions, not bad, our negative emotions, when we deny them, when we repress them, when we resist them, we are not in flow with ourselves. Okay? So it's not about saying, okay, I don't want to be angry right now. I don't want to be angry right now. I'm not. No, it's about saying, okay, I am angry right now. Let me feel this anger and let me integrate it and let me release it. Okay? It's kind of like when our kids are having a tantrum, right? You don't go to your kid when they're having a tantrum. Yes, it's embarrassing. You know, you want them to stop. You're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this kid? But you don't hit them more because they're having a tantrum. What you try to do is say, let me hold you until this is over, right? Feel that emotion and let it go. And at some point, you know that it's going to be over, right? That's the same kind of work that we've got to do on ourselves. We've got to hold ourselves in love and nurturing when we are having a negative emotion. We get into trouble with ourselves and we don't integrate with ourselves when we do not let ourselves express these negative emotions and let them go. That's where we get things like cancer. Because literally, cancer is bottled up anger. Okay? And we need to make the connection between how emotions go through our body. Okay? Isn't it true that when we are in a state of fight, flight, or freeze, right? What happens to our bodies? We get an adrenaline rush. Our heart starts beating faster. Our breath comes from the mouth, right? These are physical manifestations of an emotion, right? There's nothing wrong with having a physical manifestation of an emotion within our bodies. You know what makes it wrong is when we try to repress it. We don't feel it. We bottle it up. And guess what that becomes? It becomes a physical problem inside of our bodies. It creates a trauma in our cells, in our bodies. Okay? So today's talk is about integrating with ourselves, because why is this important? If we do not integrate with the good and the bad, the positive and the negative, the shadow and the light of ourselves, within ourselves, how can we possibly help the planet do the same thing? Okay? So the first goal for us is to understand these ideas of oneness and integrate with ourselves. That's the first step. That's why learning about why emotions are so important, and that they basically boil down to two polar opposites, fear and love, right? Emotions are always either fear or love. We've learned this, right? You're either in a state of fear or you're in a state of love. Okay. And that polarity is just what it is. And guess what? It's a beautiful thing. Our negative emotions are beautiful. Why? Because they're showing us the way. We have to say, thank you, anger. Thank you so much for showing me that I'm not feeling connected with myself in love. When we are able to embrace our negative emotions as easily as we embrace our positive emotions, even if they don't feel good, we are fully integrated and we're able to move forward in a positive way. Interestingly enough, like I said, in the law that everything is connected, okay, everything is oneness, our physical bodies, literally our chakras, are a reflection of our emotions. They are light transferred to color, transferred to a specific frequency that goes through our bodies. And that's why when they say, let's balance our chakras, right? What is balancing our chakras? Basically, it's allowing the energy to flow through all of them equally and not having them blocked. That, for example, our lower chakras, our lower chakras, which are in our pelvic area, are our most grounded, they're connected to the color red, the orange, the yellow. These chakras are the ones that are there to protect us from something that could hurt us. Okay? They are not bad or good. They're just part of the entire process. We don't want to be always in our meditative crown state because we could not deal with the world that we live in if we are only up here, right? That's why grounding is so important. Okay? There's nothing bad about experiencing our sexuality. If we repress our lower chakra, which is where our sexual organs are, if we repress them, guess what happens? We become traumatized by sexual ideas. And that is a conditioning that a lot of our parents or, people did to us, and the religions too. It's like, that area is bad. No, you cannot think about that area. If we repress that, we become traumatized by our own sexuality. So we can't do that. We need to embrace it, integrate it, and bless it. Okay? Same thing goes with all the chakras that come before the heart, right? Our solar plexus here, the yellow chakra, is there to tell us when we are feeling a little weird. This is our emotional center from the standpoint of, like, haven't you heard us say, I have a gut feeling, right? I have a gut feeling. Do you know that our gut has more neurons than our brain almost? Our gut is telling us, oh, something doesn't feel right, or it feels right. Okay? Integrating that chakra, having it flow and be balanced, is just as important as connecting with our heart, connecting with our crown, connecting with our third eye, connecting with our throat. Okay, that is the speech. So integration of this beautiful system that we have is the most important thing. Understanding that our emotions are telling us what to do. Okay? And having that awareness. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and in fact, I mentioned it when we did the self-sabotage talk, right? When we talked about our thoughts, okay, and how they affect us, it's important to understand that our thoughts create stories, right? What we were told as children, how we were conditioned, created a story for us. And if we're and what I want you to think about is, what is the story that you are carrying for yourself? in this journey of the soul. Okay. Mine personally was like an aha moment when I realized that my story, the story that I was telling myself, came from not just this lifetime, even though I repeated it, came from other lifetimes in which, as a woman, I felt that I wasn't enough, that I was abused, and that created a trauma, a pain body in me that I carried for years and years and years. Okay, for years, I felt abused, victimized by men in other lifetimes that I actually carried into this lifetime. So this pain body that I carried, it needed to heal. I had to embrace it and love it for what it was. Today, I can tell you that I have done that. And guess what? My reality has shown up completely differently. I do not attract abusive people anymore. Why? Because I healed the pain body that I had over the trauma of telling myself that every time I'm a woman, I'm going to be abused and exploited. Okay? That's my personal thought and belief that I had to heal. Some of you have other pain bodies that you're carrying, other thoughts that you keep thinking. And that's where the law of belief, remember the law of belief and the law of attraction come in. Because if you believe something, it creates your reality. Is it not true? If you believe something, whatever that is, it creates your reality. Change your beliefs, you change your reality. Change your thoughts, you attract whatever your thoughts are producing. Remember that your thoughts, and then if you voice your thoughts, which is something I want you guys to be very conscious of, I want you to think about the things that you say. Sometimes you think them, and sometimes you actually say them. Like if you say, oh my God, this work is killing me. Do you realize what you're saying? Because the universe has no sense of humor, by the way, guys. The universe only says one word. One. You know what that word is? That word is yes. The word for the universe is yes. So if you say, God, this work is killing me, guess what the universe says? Yes. All right? It doesn't know any other word. And it has no sense of humor. It's just objective. So if you're being sarcastic when you say that, or if you're just venting, be careful, because that's the energy that you're sending out there in motion, that the work is killing you. All right? So words are a action, law of action. Remember law of action? Words are energy in motion through action. We're projecting the energy out there. Okay? So remember and be very mindful of your words, because we've been conditioned to say things like that. So I ask you to think about, mindfully conditioned, what are the words that you say that you don't realize you're saying? And I'm sure you're going to catch, this whole week, you're going to catch a bunch of people saying things like that. Oh my God, I never can get this right. Guess what? Yes, you never can get this right. Because that's what the universe is saying back to you. It's reflecting back to you what you say to it. Okay? So be mindful of your words. Be mindful of the energy or emotion behind those words, and you will be able to get into flow and bring the things that you want into your life. So we do it all the time. What are the things that we say? We say like, oh my God, I feel so stupid. I can't believe I did that. You know, things that not only do we think them, we actually say them. How many times do we vent to somebody and say, I can't believe I'm such an idiot, you know? Right? We do things like that. And the universe says, yes, you are. So these are the reason that I'm saying this today is because I want you guys to become fully integrated. Fully integrated. It's not about resisting when something comes up that makes us feel bad, makes us feel anxious, worried, guilty. Those emotions are not good or bad. They are simply are. And we need to acknowledge them, actually say, bless them, get to a point where we bless them for what they're doing for us, get to the point where it says, oh my God, I feel so anxious today. I wonder what that's doing for me. Why am I anxious? Why am I feeling that way? Oh, it must be that I'm worried about all this stuff that I've got to get done and I don't have enough time to do it. Okay, but that's all right. Feel it, release it, and you won't create a resistance to it. I fully believe that every single disease that we have is literally, break down the word, dis-ease. It's a dis-ease with ourselves. Okay? And they're all connected. And believe it or not, I'm actually right now researching and learning more about our glandular system and how our glandular system is connected literally to the chakras. This is something recent that it had not come into my wealth of knowledge, and I will share it once I feel comfortable with the information. But I have started to make the connection between our glandular system and the chakras. And for me personally, the one that always comes up lately is my throat, my throat chakra and my thyroid. Okay. I had my own personal little health issues were regarding my throat. A while back, I was feeling that I had a lump in my throat. I got a little nervous. I'm like, and I had it for a long time. Every time I would swallow, I felt like I had a lump in my throat, literally. And I even went to an ear, nose, throat doctor. I went to see if I could get help, whatever. And nobody could come up with anything. One of them kind of scared me. He said, well, let's look, it might be cancer, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, crap. And it wasn't until I made the connection that this area, which color it is and what it represents, which is speech and speaking your truth, that I was able to heal that lump in my throat. And this was a few years back. This was like 2 years ago when I was starting on this journey of speaking like this, of talking about what I know and sharing it. And it had to begin in my own business. In my own business, when I started creating the movement that I call Design Enlightenment, I wasn't aligned in my business with this truth. And I wasn't speaking the truth because my fear was, particularly with my husband and my family, my clients, my fear was that if I went in that direction, that I wasn't going to be successful, that I was going to lose clients, that I was going to be viewed as some weirdo, that it's like, what the heck does design have to do with spirituality? We don't, I had all these fears, guys, all of them, all these fears. And especially that my husband and I work together, and that everything stems from my business, which is B. Pila Design Studio, right? Even his work and mine are very integrated. And I thought that if I went in that direction, I was going to be judged in a negative way and it was going to be detrimental, right? So it wasn't until I literally sat down with my husband and I said to him, listen, this is what I feel I need to do. I need to tell you first, you are my partner in life. You are the person that I share every moment, every day with. And I need to tell you that I want to go in this direction. I need to tell you that my business and my life and me have to be integrated, and that I have to practice what I preach. Because if I don't, I'm not speaking my truth. Well, lo and behold, when I did that, the lump in my throat went away. Instantly. Instantly. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, I just needed to speak. And that's actually when I started speaking a lot. I started going out there and saying, I don't care what this is, but I'm going to go out there and speak my truth and speak about how design and spirituality can be merged together. And I'm going to be the pioneer of this movement, no matter what. And once I did that, I also had started meditating, and all of a sudden the connection between my heart and my crown merged, and I felt like a complete changed person. Recently, I have been feeling similar feelings here, but it has to do with my thyroid. My thyroid was underactive. I did blood work, and my doctor said, listen, your thyroid seems to be a little wishy-washy here. Let's see if we need to treat it. And all of a sudden, something in me clicked again. Oh my goodness, where's the thyroid located? It's here. I'm having issues again. This disease, this unalignment, this chakra is complaining again. Why is it complaining? It's complaining because I had stopped speaking. I had stopped spreading the word. For whatever reason, I got busy. You know how that is, right? I had done what I thought was going to do. And guess what? I started doing this again. What I'm doing today with you. And everything's coming into balance again. The reason I tell you this story is because we all need to understand that there is no such thing as a separation in ourselves. The mind, the body, the spirit, the holy trinity of ourselves is the holy trinity of the earth. Okay? Mind, body, spirit, mother, father, child. This number 3, this trinity is key to getting in flow with ourselves. There's no such thing as this is separate from that. Okay? And until we understand that and integrate all the sides of ourselves within ourselves, we cannot go forth and do the same for the planet. Okay? And one thing that I want you to think about, I wrote this down so I didn't want to forget it. Okay? Is that there is a direct correlation to how much we conform and how much we suffer. Okay, so let me explain this. And this goes back to the idea of that pain body or the trauma or the conditioning that we are denying. Okay? We have been conditioned, even from day one, to be normal, right? Everyone wants to be normal or accepted or, part of society because we're social creatures, right? What is normal anyway? Does anybody know what normal is? I don't know what normal is, but I can tell you that we're all trying to be normal, right? So guess what normal is? Normal is conforming to some social condition that has been created for us. We do it to our children too. You're going to go out there in that? No, you got to change, right? You're going to go, you didn't put on any makeup. What do you mean? We're conditioned. We're conditioned all over the place to conform to social norms. But to the degree that we are conforming is the degree of our suffering. Do you get that? When we are supposed to be something we are not, in other words, conforming or trying to be normal, that equals suffering. Okay? So guess what? We have to decide what's normal for us. And you know what normal is for us? Normal is being natural. Being natural. And the reason that I know this for a fact is because I was trying to be inauthentic by trying to conform to what I was supposed to be as an interior designer. For 30 years, when I started interior design, everybody was doing it in a certain way, you know. We were supposed to do this for the rich and the wealthy. We were supposed to get only super wealthy clients, uber wealthy. Everything was exclusive. I was supposed to be a celebrity. The bigger the celebrity I was, the better clients I was supposed to get, the better, more successful I was going to appear. And guess what? That energy required me to be something I'm not, which is slightly arrogant. You know how that is, right? How, Leslie, maybe you can relate. There's clients, you know, there's interior designers that still believe that they have to be like this persona for people to, you know, trust in their creations. And guess what? That was just bullshit for me, right? I just couldn't swallow it. I couldn't. Look at what I just said. I just couldn't swallow it. I couldn't swallow that bitter pill that I had to be this thing in order to do what I do. And I lived with that for years. For years. That is why the core value, the biggest core value of my business and my life is authenticity. Because the moment that I'm feeling inauthentic with what I'm doing, I know that I am conforming and therefore suffering. Do you get that correlation? So I ask you to think about, what is it that you're doing or being that may not feel natural to you? Where are you showing up as trying to be something you're not? Because if you're doing that, that causes suffering. It creates a pain body in you that can lead to disease, that can get you out of flow and creates resistance within you. You understand that? I know from my own personal experience. It wasn't until I fully integrated who I am and said to the world, speaking my truth, I am a spiritual healer, but I'm also an interior designer. And I am fully authentic in what I do. If you don't like it, that's okay. You go do it somewhere else with someone else. And when I declared that is when I was released from the suffering. And when everything opened up to me, and I all of a sudden, all of those abusive, arrogant, maybe exploitive people that were in my life disappeared because I wasn't resisting it anymore. So it is extremely important that you understand what is natural to you, because we are all beautifully designed as we are. We do not need to conform to anyone's idea of us. Remember that. You do not need to conform to anything that does not feel natural to you. And your inner emotions will be your compass. get in touch with those, because when you feel something strange, when you feel a negative emotion, you are in a state of lack of flow with yourself. Okay? So I wanted to ask at this moment if because we've covered a lot of ground. I don't know if there's any questions that you've had from any of the last talks that we've had regarding the universal laws, regarding your emotions, I'd love to hear if anybody could share any thoughts regarding what I've gone over today, because it's hard to gauge for me how much I am helping you if you don't give me some input back. So put it out there.
In regards to what you were saying, that holding in those emotions and not dealing with them, that they create diseases, I can personally testify to that, being that I've worked with so many people that have had issues like diseases, very serious ones like cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia. Whenever I speak to the client, I always have to do a history on them. I usually tap into whatever they've been through in their lives. And usually when they have a serious disease, like rheumatoid arthritis, let's say, I had a client, she had very severe rheumatoid arthritis. And so we started talking and finding out what had happened in her life. And she had an autistic son and had lost a child. And so all that she swallowed, and this isn't what my perspective is. And it turned into a disease that now she has to deal with all the time. Fibromyalgia, let's say I had a client who had fibromyalgia. I never really tapped into her past history, but had told me that she had been through some really severe stuff, trauma of some sort. And now she's dealing with fibromyalgia every day. Mm-hmm. Even with cancer, I've had, patients that have had cancer or breast cancer. And usually it's something that they had gone through in their lives that they didn't deal with it emotionally. They didn't release it somehow, and they're swallowing it every day. So it correlates perfectly to what you're saying.
Yes.
Regarding that.
No,
yes, we have to deal with our issues for sure. And align ourselves.
It's incredibly important that we make those connections. Like, for example, a lot of women suffer from breast cancer or uterine cancer. Those locations in our body are directly correlated to our feminism, the divine feminine, the feminine, okay, men do not have breasts that can provide milk and nurture children. Our uterus directly creates our children, right? So if we get cancer in our breasts, in our ovaries, or in our uterus, it is a direct correlation of our denial and our anger towards the feminine. We're trying to be masculine. You get me? Like me, I suffered for years from trying to believe that I needed to be in a masculine state all the time. And that brings me to something that I was debating whether to introduce today or not, which is the archetypes that we live with, okay? We take on archetypes. For years, we've known about archetypes in the movies, right? We know about the warrior, we know about the goddess, we know about the princess, we know about all of these myths that are part of our archetype history, right? And Michi, you mentioned the word history. I want you to understand that the word history is equal to going backwards. Okay? Our history and our ancestry is incredibly important to who we are today. So because we have a collective field, remember the spirit is the quantum field, right? Remember the spirit is this big field that we tap into through energetic consciousness. The collective consciousness holds the history, all the ancestry that we have collectively. So for example, what we're living today as women has a collective history of the pain bodies that all the women that came before us are here. And that's why we're here today. We are here to heal ourselves so that we can move forward with a new approach towards the feminine. Not trying to be men, but being in our power as women. We don't want to be men. We don't want to be masculine. We want to embrace all of the beauty and power that the feminine energy has. And we want to move forward in a new way. From the 60s to today, okay, we have been in the process of integrating this concept that we needed to go out. This truly happened in World War II, that women went out into the workforce for the first time, okay? Women went out into the workforce, and all of a sudden, women were doing men's jobs. This was the first time in history that happened, right? And it created this, it planted a seed of possibility that translated into the women going into the workforce for real afterwards, all the way into the 70s. But in that time frame, we became like men. We thought we had to deny our femininity and become men, right? In the way that we acted, we wore suits. You know, in the 80s, we put on shoulder pads. You know, all of these silly things that we did to be more masculine and to hold that energy. Guess what? Today, women are the highest quantity of people becoming entrepreneurs. Women. And we're doing it in our way. Guess what we've just done, ladies? In these last decades, we have integrated our femininity and are going out into the world doing things our way. Guess what that does? It completely reconditions our reality. We are no longer conforming to the idea that we need to be like men. On the contrary, we are actually becoming a force to be reckoned with powerfully with our feminine divinity. And this is a beautiful thing to see. I'm doing it. You're doing it. We're all being women differently. And what's happening is that we're integrating the feminine in a new way, embracing it. And I foresee that these things like, you know, breast cancer and uterine cancer and ovarian cancer and all these things, this anger that's been pent up at being a woman is going to be purged. Okay? Because we're not going to be oppressed anymore. And that's why the Dalai Lama said that the Western woman will change the world. You know why the Western woman will change the world? Because we are free. And because we are not oppressed. And because we will embrace our feminine and balance the energies of the planet with it. We will no longer be fighting to be like men. We won't take that archetype of the warrior and use it as a shield, which we've done for a long time. We will instead embrace the goddess within, okay, and balance the energy of the planet with it, okay? We need to become that goddess that nurtures, the mother that nurtures the world. And that's the energy that we want to go out into the world with. But in order to do that, we first must clean up our act. Okay? We've been trained as women to be unselfish nurturers, right? This is part of our conditioning. The damsel in distress, that's another beautiful archetype, right? The princess. How many Disney movies did we see? Aren't the princesses in Disney different now? They're fucking kick-ass. Disney has completely transformed the way it presents women, right? They're no longer the little damsel in distress that the prince comes on the big horse and sweeps them away and life is beautiful. No, no, no. Mulan. I love all of these new beautiful Disney characters that are being shown to our daughters and our sons. Okay? What is that? That's a representation of where we are today. That is a representation. The Me Too movement is a disclosure movement of we will not put up with abuse anymore. Right? Don't you see it? So we're all part of this new way of thinking that is luckily part of our freedom in this Western side of the hemisphere. But guess what? We need to spread it to the other side, ladies. And we can do it. You know how? Through things like this. Zoom, Facebook. There's no limitation. You can't hold this shit down. You can't. It's not going to be suppressed. It's only a matter of time. And we must do it fully integrated ourselves. What do I mean by that? We need to be selfish. Yes, I've said it. Selfish. Selfish means self-love. Okay? Selfish is not bad. Selfish is self-love. So in the law of oneness, we must integrate with ourself first. Remember, I've always said, you cannot give away what you do not have. You have to fill your cup first, and whatever runneth over is what you give. Okay? Fill your cup first. If they call it selfish, who gives a shit? Okay? I call it self-love. Okay? I have to clean up my act before I can help anybody else. And that's why I'm blessed, thank God, today to be here in front of you in a very whole way. I feel very whole. I feel very aligned. I work at it every day. I actually, I have my own practice of meditation. I know how to integrate myself. I know when I'm out of balance because I listen mindfully to myself, to my body, to my mind. I listen to my own thoughts and say, is that good for me? I don't know about that. Right? And that's what I'm trying to teach you all to do. I'm teaching you to become aware of your emotions, aware of your thoughts, aware of your words, what we put out, the energy that we throw out of this beautiful mouth. Okay? Once you do that, then you're going to find that what comes to you and what you're surrounded by changes. You cannot change from the outside in. You must change from the inside out. Remember that. You have to work the inner to get what you want on the outer. We keep, there's a misconception in that we have to change what's out there. Let's go out and fight this thing. Fight? We're not about fighting. I love the way all of these campaigns for diseases are about, let's fight cancer. Let's fight this. Let's fight diabetes. Do you think you can heal something with that kind of energy? You can't. You can't fight fire with fire. That doesn't even make any sense. You cannot, Albert Einstein said that you cannot transform the energy with what was created. Do you understand? You have to use a different energy. So we are in the process of using a different energy. And guess what that energy is called? That energy is called love. That's it. Super simple. The energy of love is the only transformative energy that you need in order to transform your life and transform the world. It's so simple. It's a very powerful force. So we have to elevate our vibration to love in order to be able to transform anything that is negative on the opposite side, because this is a polarity world. This is a world of duality. You cannot have light without dark. Impossible. Okay? You cannot have one without the other. We cannot have our joyful light side without our shadows. Our shadows are meant to guide us through. Okay? And until we become coherent in that, we cannot transform our world. Okay? So that's the reason we have to be in touch with the idea of what's love, what's fear. Why are we feeling fearful? What's going on there? So that we can transform it into love. And the first love that there is, by the way, is selfish. Remember what I said? Self-love. The more we love ourselves, the more we will have our hearts full to spread it out. Okay? So be selfish today. Those of you that are on this call are being self-love. And it's beautiful to see. It's really beautiful to see that you've taken this time, this moment, to find that inner peace, to find the love within yourselves, and to learn a new way of thinking, and hopefully a new way of speaking, and then a new way of being, so that you can manifest the world the way you wish. And by the way, manifesting is something that I want to cover at some point through the other law, which is the law of attraction, because that's a super complicated one. You know, there's a lot of information out there about it, but we have to understand that the desires that we have, it's impossible not to have the desire, right? We are hardwired to have desires. Every moment of the day, we have a desire, right? But we cannot manifest from a place of pure desire, because desire by its very nature is equal to a need. Let me repeat that. Desire equals need, which means in representational form that you lack something. So the energy of desire is, I don't have this, okay? That equals a need, and you cannot manifest from that place, okay? You can't manifest from a need. You have to manifest from abundance, okay? So what I want to say is that it's important that you understand that in order to manifest something, you have to come from that place of, is it in my highest good and in the highest good of others? Okay? You want to see things manifest quickly? When you want to manifest quickly, all you need to do is ask, is this in my highest good and the highest good of others? When that alignment occurs, instant manifestation occurs. Okay? Because we're constantly in a state of desiring. We're always needing something. But that energy, desire, comes from a place of lack. I don't have it, therefore I want it. Right? Okay? When you release that feeling of lack, is when all of a sudden you align with everything that there is. And it comes to you without any effort. I don't know if you get that. It's kind of a hard, it's like everything, all of these teachings have a positive and a negative, because again, we live in a world of duality, of polarity. And because we live in a world of duality and polarity, the main law is that there's always going to be two sides to the coin. There's always going to be the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine, the good and the bad. That is just a given. We just have to understand that so that we do not resist it, so that we do not push it away as if it's bad. We have to integrate it. And that's what today's theme has been. It's been all about integration, understanding that nothing really is bad. It just is. And that what we resist persists. If we resist the bad, we bring it in and we press it down, okay? And we conform, right? We talked about conforming equals suffering. When we conform and we're not in a natural, authentic state, we suffer. We need to be who we truly are. And each of you is uniquely your own and on your own purpose and mission. And guess what? Once you're awake, which just by you being on this call, you are showing me and showing the universe that you are awake and in the process of awakening and transforming. You can't go back to sleep. Once you're awake, you're awake. And all of you are awake. And once you're awake, you are no longer part of that collective dead zone. You're active. You're in action. You're in motion. Your energy is in motion. And once you know your energy is in motion, you're able to understand what you can do with that. It isn't until you get that you can put all these dots together. Today, we talked about the law of oneness, right? And how that oneness needs to connect to our oneness, who we are, before we can connect with the oneness that's in the quantum field. We spoke about the fact that there's a distinct difference between spirit and the soul. The spirit is the quantum field. The soul is our journey through it, our personal journey through it. Okay? So what do you want your personal journey to be?
Yeah, there's a lot of people in this shit.
The person who turned on Deb, mute yourself. Unless you want to say something. Your personal journey, your soul's journey, your mystic journey, your hero's journey is your own. And you don't need to conform to anyone else's idea of what that is. In fact, if you do not do that, you will become diseased. It might be a mental disease. It might be a physical disease. It will manifest at some point in time. Just like Michi was saying that some of her clients, they had a trauma when they were in their 15, 20s, 30s, and it didn't manifest into a disease until later on in their lives, and they didn't make the connection, right? I expressed that until I spoke my truth, I had a lump in my throat, that my thyroid gets out of balance. Why? Because it takes time for these energy bodies, these pain bodies, to come through our body, but they will. So what I ask you is, the more mindful you become of these ideas today, the better apt you are to avoid any disease. We are not meant to be diseased. On the contrary, we are healthy and pure and whole always. In fact, our spirit is always healthy, pure, and whole. Our soul's journey may be traveling through the contrast of anger, trauma, negative emotions, and it's teaching us to find the light through its contrast. But our spirit, the connection that we have to God, is always pure and whole. There is no such thing as a separation between that and us. We are part of that whole, okay? But the journey that we're traveling right now as a soul is at different stages. It's at different stages of evolution. It's just like our children going through grade school. You know, If you're in second grade, you're in second grade. You're not in a master's degree yet. So you need to travel the journey of the grades to fully integrate at the end. And like the law of cause and effect, the law of correspondence, the law of attraction, all of these laws teach us that everything is cyclical, right? All we're doing is going around the full circle. Okay? We're learning all the grades and we're going to come back to the beginning, and then we get to choose if we want to do it again. And the reason that we came here, as we are right now, is to integrate and elevate and create the harmony of the planet that is so desperately needed. Okay? That's what we're trying to do. We are in the process of raising our vibrations as women so that we may integrate with this planet, create a balance in its energies, both masculine and feminine, and bring it to a balanced state. And what we're going to do is purge the energies of our past. Remember that history is going backwards. We need to look at our history, right? History is very important. History and ancestry is very important because it helps us to see what we might have done in the past that does work for us or doesn't. Okay? Looking into your past, if it doesn't serve you, but having an awareness of the past can heal you. Do you get that? Let me repeat that. Going into your past doesn't necessarily serve you, but an awareness of your past can heal you. So understanding that maybe your mother did something her way and that it might have created a conditioned trauma in you, but now you get to choose to change your story. We need to look at our history as women. What did that condition bring us? And how can we move forward by healing our past history? We have never had a better opportunity to heal our past. We have never been in a state in time as perfect as this one to do it. But we got to start with us first. We got to start with us first. Okay? Once you've mastered that, and believe me, mastery is a double-edged sword. Okay, mastery is not really what mastery takes many lifetimes. Okay? But we can certainly master certain things in this moment to help us and guide us with our path. And like I said before, and I'll touch upon this hopefully on another Sunday. We want, look, 11:11 right now. How beautiful. This journey that we are on, all of you are in a state of understanding that you got to get on purpose. You wouldn't be on this call today if you didn't get that. If you didn't understand that you have a calling to be your personal purpose and mission that is not just for yourself and your integration, but to create more coherence in our planetary body and our universal body. You have a calling, all of you, and you're in time to do so. As the decades go by, if you don't reach that point, your body, your mind, and your spirit says, hey, what's up with this? Are we done here? Are we done here? Because you know what? We didn't get anywhere. Let's start over. And it'll cause some kind of issue within the body. You will manifest a disease that will cause you to leave the planet. It's almost like game over. So by being on this call today, you have recognized and been compelled to get on your purpose. to do what you need to do in order to fully integrate with yourself and elevate your soul's journey to the next level. Believe me, I know it, because if not, you wouldn't be here. You just wouldn't. And as we do this more and more, you're going to find the connectedness to everything. You're going to find serendipitous little things come up in your life, and you're like, oh, look at that. How did that happen? All of the coincidences will become God incidences. The numbers that show up in your life, all these little things will all of a sudden trigger these little aha moments in you, and you'll say, how did that happen? Because you're going to be on that path. You're going to finally have found the yellow brick road. Okay? And I love that you guys are sharing this and letting me be on my purpose, because by doing this, I get to speak my truth. I get to share what I'm meant to share. And I get to be doing what I'm meant to do. Because like I said, interior design is just my career. This is really my soul's journey. So I'd love to hear from you guys. I don't know how much of you have heard from the beginning when I started. This is being recorded, so we shall be able to share it, right, Deb? Because you're my recorder. I would love to hear if anybody wants to share something or any aha moments or anything that's come up during the week.
Hi, B. Thank you so much. You opened up for me many things that I was thinking about. So, and it was unexpected. I think I received the invitation yesterday, and wow, I said, B, I gotta be there.
Thank you, Julia. You are so wonderful. I love that you come to into my life at different times, and this is something that we're doing. That I'm doing because it's just I've been compelled to. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And I wanted to ask you if the previous Sundays were recorded.
Yes. I'll send them out to you. I'll make sure that you get.
Thank you.
Because
I'll love to listen to them.
Last Sundays was pretty intense. Leslie said didn't make it, and she listened to the recording, and she said she took her how long, Leslie, to go share your thoughts.
But I had to. I actually was nice. I called B yesterday to tell her that it actually was nice for me to. I'm sure it's a different experience when we're on with you. But listening to it after, it allowed me to pause, make notes, and it took me 3 times to get through everything because it was so much information that was so valuable. And also, you just wanted to hear more. So you would rewind and go back. So Thank you,
good. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I wanted to say that I'm very happy to be here and that I was able to join. Unfortunately, I misread a message. I thought it's at 11, but I'm happy that you guys recording it. And I would love also to listen to everything you say because you are an incredible being on this planet, like an angel and like a guru and like teaching without teaching. And whatever you're saying, really resonates with me. And when you said this about your throat, actually, I have like the similar things that like the need to speak, but I cannot talk. And it's kind of very interesting topic which you brought it up today about speaking.
I have correct. Who's not Deb? Can you mute Deb? Let me see if I can. I don't think I can mute her. It's really important to understand the correlation, Christina, between the symptomology of our body and what we are connecting to our chakras. as well as the location. Oh my God, Deb, are you there? I don't know why she's not muting there. So I found that correlation, for example, in any time that you get some kind of disease, and it may be something that is minimal, like a cold, or a bit, oh my goodness, we need to get this thing. Where are you? I see her. So the correlation between our physical body, our mental body, and our spiritual body is one. Okay, it's a holy trinity. Okay, the true holy trinity is that connection between these three sides of ourselves. Okay, so there is no such thing as something happening in spirit and not happening in body. The only thing is that it takes time, usually, because we're on a very dense planet. This is a 3D planet. So it takes time is relative. In spirit, it has no time. Okay. But in physical form, it does. And that's why it takes time, for example, for a trauma in our childhood to become a disease if we have not healed it. Okay. And that's why sometimes it's so difficult to understand the connection between the two, because time has gone by and you're like, where did this come from? Why? You know, why do I have this now? It's because we've been carrying it. I believe that every disease begins in spirit. It begins in spirit, it goes to mind, and then it goes to body, because that's how it travels. Okay? By the time that it's in our physical body, it is more challenging to release and purge it. If we're able to catch any of our physical problems, okay, ahead of time, like if we're starting to feel bad, like my throat, like I made that connection, I start seeing something's going on, then I have to ask my body, why am I doing this? Why am I manifesting this disease? For me, one of the biggest diseases that I had throughout my life was migraines. Okay. And in a regression that I did with Brian Weiss, with like 500 other people in an auditorium, I was able to regress and ask my body, meditation, what was going on. Deb, mute your thing, because we hear everything and it's driving us crazy.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Thanks. So I was able to go back into my body through that meditation with Brian Weiss, and I asked myself, one of them was, what is my body? Why do I have migraines? Why? I had been suffering from migraines since I was 28, debilitating migraines. Okay. But they were always related directly to my menstrual cycle. So when I would have my period, a week before, I would start the migraine and it wouldn't go away until after my period was finished and a week later. So I would literally be 2 weeks out of every month debilitated by migraines. Right, Michi? Remember that period in my life?
Funny enough, our mom had the same thing.
Yes. So it wasn't until my body said to my soul, it's because I fucking hate being a woman in this life. I mean, literally, that's how it screamed in my head. The reason I'm using the F word is because that's what happened. I was in this meditation and I heard my body yell inside my head because I'm fucking angry at being a woman again. Oh my God. When that happened, it was like the biggest aha moment of my life. I mean, what I've been suffering from since I was 28 years old was because I was angry to be a woman again. Because to me, my ancestry, my past lives were women equals abuse, equals powerlessness, equals doing whatever your husband wants or your man wants, having children that you do not want to have. Okay. And that's it. Period. So I carried that pain body with me into this life. And I repeated the same pattern over again. I got married to a man that's abusive and had a baby immediately. Okay? And that turned into migraines when I had my menstrual cycle. Guess what? When I was showing signs of being a woman. That's why I know the correlation between breast cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, migraines, anything that is connected to your femininity. You have to look at from a perspective of like, why is this happening? I'm out of balance. I am resisting my femininity. Okay? I was resisting being a woman again, trying to be something I'm not. And it manifested in migraines for me. So whenever you have something, and there's a direct correlation too, to the left side of the body and the right side of the body. One side of your body is feminine. The other side of the body is masculine. Okay? They're not bad or good. Everything in my life, any ailment that I have had in my entire life has manifested on my left side. Guess why? Because the right side is the feminine. So it manifests on my left side because I'm out of balance with my right side, which is my feminine. You get that? So if something is going on, let's say your right breast, your right ovary, then it's your left. You're denying your masculine, right? If something is going on the right side, it's because it's happening on the left. Okay, that's the polarity, the duality. Our physical bodies have that manifestation. So if you're having any issues with your throat, go back. What is it that's connected to the throat? Why? If you're having any issues with your digestive system, okay, think about why, what's going on in the gut. What are you hunkering down in there? Okay, you're not digesting your life. You're getting indigestion of life. So think about these connections, okay? Because they're incredible, and maybe we'll talk some more about these physical. I'm doing right now as we speak a lot of research on the glandular connection to the chakras, because I believe that there is I believe that one of our biggest issues right now, including mental illness, is hormonal imbalance. And it has a lot to do with our food intake, because we eat a lot of hormones, whether we know we're eating them or not. That's why this whole trend about eating organic and eating fresh and healthy and things that don't have hormones in them, because our children, even the plastic that things are in, okay, if they emit hormones. We know this, right? Like plastics, that's why we use our water bottles and stainless steel. All of this is, all of this is because, like our children, our girls, haven't you noticed that girls develop breasts like much faster these days? Like I've noticed it in my granddaughters, I'm like, my God, how did they get to be, when I was 11 or 12, I had my period and I still looked like a little girl, like nothing. But our girls are ingesting hormones, a lot of them, without even knowing.
Even boys.
And boys too, yes. And boys too. And I believe that this is a crisis that is turning into hormonal imbalances in our children. And they manifest later as issues that are throwing their chakras out of alignment. And until we make this connection, until we make this connection of understanding that there is no separation between the mind, the body, and the spirit, and that everything is manifesting in our bodies as a reflection of what's in our souls, which includes ancestral. I always say, what if the pain you are experiencing today is not even your own? Okay? What if the pain you are going through today is something you're carrying into this lifetime in order to purge, in order to heal it so that the future of your ancestors will be healed? It has been proven that in a laboratory, there was a test done on rats in a laboratory, on mice, right? The first generation of these mice were inside of this cage, and they infused the cage with the smell of lavender, okay? And every time they would infuse the cage with the smell of lavender, something so innocuous, right? The smell of lavender is delicious, right? Relaxing. But instead, what they would do is they would send an electrical charge to electrify the mice, okay? And the mice would go into shock and scramble, and then they would do it again, infuse the box with lavender and send an electrical charge. They did this until the mice, not every single day, but they did this until the mice became conditioned that the smell of lavender meant pain, right? Those generation of mice had new generation of mice. They bred, they had babies. These babies were taken, these small mice were taken into another cage, okay? In that other cage, these babies were growing up, and all of a sudden, they infused the cage with lavender. But they did not electrify them. But guess what those little mice did? They scrambled and reacted just like the generation before them. Okay? How is that possible? That generation didn't experience the electrical charge from the lavender. And yet, they carried in their DNA the patterning, the pain body of the electrical charge in connection with the smell of lavender. Do you get that? Now, if that's possible in mice, what do you think we're carrying? We're carrying the DNA of our ancestors, and not just in the color of our eyes and the color of our skin and the height of our bodies. No, we're carrying the emotional pain body of the collective. The collective pain body is not just ours either. There are group collective pain bodies, like people that have lived in communism. People that have lived with a lack of freedom carry a pain body that is huge, that needs to be healed and purged. So the responsibility that we have once we get on purpose, once we're awake like we are right now, is to help heal these pain bodies. But we have to start from us. We have to start to heal ourselves first. And it's like the plane, you know? You put on your mask, and then you put on the mask of your child. Okay? So what we're doing today is working on our own pain bodies through an understanding of our emotions, through an understanding of what we're feeling and how it's connected to our bodies, fully integrating it into coherence, and then we can go out. Okay, I've said a lot today. I like that thumbs up. Thank you, Raquel. Well, I don't know if there's any other questions I'm happy to answer or any comments, but we've been on this for a little while, and I think we've covered some good ground.
You made my Sunday.
Yay!
Super happy. My mood lifted like 3 points. Well, on a scale from 1 to 10, so it's a big jump. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. All right. Well, if everybody is ready to go out, we get an extra day tomorrow and Memorial Day. How many of you guys are off tomorrow? no Zoom calls, no checking in, no. So use that day to rest, because we need this. We need to be rested in order to be our best. Keep the feeling that you have right now, which is, I can feel the vibration in all of you very, very high. It's wonderful that I get that from all of you, the smiles on your faces, the vibration and the frequency that you have, and let that wave carry you through tomorrow and next week until we meet again on Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Only Zoom Pilates is on schedule tomorrow.
Good. Namaste.
Namaste. Self-care, self-love. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.